army can't stop that creature.
No, but maybe we turtles can, with a little rocket power.
Someone keeps eating my yogurt.
What kind of yogurt?
I was saving that for after my run, David.
Oh my god, I guess I was saving it for during your run then.
Hey, Robbie, we're not going to bust your chops for trying to impress a girl.
I can't believe she's dead.
It's the Al Travis Show. Always love having our next guest on. He's Senator Aric Putnam, but I got no time for what we're going to talk about this week, sir. Boy, you went dark in a heartbeat. What happened to your... There you go.
Well, because we're about to go dark, probably, right? Wouldn't you rather just darkness than my ugly mug?
No, I appreciate you being here. We got to start from scratch from last week when you were here. It's Thursday, Friday. It must have been, well, Thursday was Thanksgiving, so it must have been Friday. I don't even think this guy's that knuckleheady. But the president comes out and uses vulgar terminology for not bringing the brightest bulb against our governor. I don't use that term in my house. I don't think the president should be using it on anybody. It's just wrong. I'm not sticking up for him in any way. I will say now this week with the whole Somalis are bad thing, again, stop. You ruin your point if you got to do that. He's just got to stop. That being said, then our fine governor comes back with, well, show me your MRI. And I'm like, people, there seems to be a lot of crap going on, and if we could stop calling names like we're in third grade or whatever, I'd appreciate it. But then this happens, sir. The New York Times comes out with their expose, and I say that you and I have been talking about it for, about 3 years now, the stuff they discovered. I don't know that it's new, but it's new that the New York Times brought it up. And then we have this text that some group, the Minnesota Department of Human Services employees, extra thing, puts an X out. And again, I take that with a grain of salt because anybody could have made that account. I mean, I follow a guy named Cat Turd. I don't know who he is. You can be anybody. So
it found me.
Yeah, is that you? Well-written stuff. Very funny.
Thank you.
But anyway, so I took that with a grain of salt, but I have had some senators and reps on that said, no, they know those people, or at least some of them, they've come to the meetings, the fraud committee meetings, that sort of thing. They give us some legitimacy. But that being said, 37 million people saw that diatribe against the governor. So while they're yelling names to each other and this and that, it seems to me that the support for Walz seems to be waning a bit. Is that fair? I mean, New York Times comes out and does an article on you. That can't help.
Yeah, so I'll go back to the start and say, you and I have talked about this before, I think a couple times, in that I've seen a lot of dumb actions, but not dumb people. I think that's our job, is to, if you're going to use whatever invective you want to, if you have to, right? But you don't talk about the person, you talk about what they did, because that's all we really have access to. I don't know
100%.
Trump's heart. I don't know that he has one necessarily, and I also don't care. But what I do care about is the stuff that he says is irresponsible and borderline evil. Again, that's not about him. It's about what he says. Now, when it comes to the DHS,
agree.
I've heard other people say the exact opposite, that this is just a couple disgruntled people, or it's people who have nothing to do with DHS. I don't know what's true there either. And again, I don't really care. It's all this mess to get us angry and get us all confused and stop us from thinking about what's really going on. But to your ultimate question about the governor's support, it's hard to tell a year out what we're going to be looking at in November. So I just generally don't know. I know that there, some of my pals up here, my DFL pals up here are critical of him, but they're still going to vote for him. So.
Well, and there was that article last week. I don't know if if it was Wednesday, if we talked about it, the Star Trib came out, which again, Star Trib's pretty nice to the governor in general, but they listed a couple of senators who think that Walz could be a drag on the ticket. Well, quite frankly, I don't even know if that's a story. Some people feel it. That's a story. I mean, somebody gets shot. That's a story. I don't know if it. So anyway, they went out of the way to make that a legitimate story they put in the paper. So my point is, it seems to be waning. But even if it's not, like you say, maybe it's a year out. That's forever in politics. The problem it does have now is that spotlight has now come nationwide, right? You and I have been talking about fraud for some time. I don't think anything that we heard in the last weekend had anything to do, you and I like, oh, really? That's going on? We've been talking about it. But now the federal government's going to be here. And if we thought the drip, drip, drip of bad news for this governor and fraud was over, I think it's only just begun. People are going to start looking under the tent now, and this gets worse. They're going to find every guy who said I didn't talk to, who's been swindled. This doesn't get better, I guess is my point, for some time. We're in the dark of this now. Would you not agree? This is only going to get worse with the national spotlight?
No, I don't think the national spotlight helps at all. I think it's really bad news. And I think it's a consequence of the governor running for vice president. If he hadn't, and then it probably wouldn't be getting the kind of attention it is, which is kind of a bummer when it boils down to it. Now, to the so one of the probably the second or fourth reason why I like you is that you're like actually like a reasonable journalist like thing. You're like a reasonable journalist like thing. And the article that my friends were in that I didn't call back to, frankly, like I got a call from the reporter too, and I didn't return the call. A couple of the quotes that were in there weren't from the interview that the article was about. So it was some sneaky stuff that went on. And my good friend Rob told me about how, and people who aren't as cool as you will say things like, "Well, do you like kittens? What's your favorite kitten?" In an interview, right? Like, you like cats. Let's talk about cats. You talk about cats for 30 minutes, and at the very end, it's like, "You want to ban every gun, don't you? As long as I've got you."
Oh no, I get it.
And that's what they do. And then as the interviewee, you're like, "I thought we were talking about Mr. Whiskerson. Where did that come from?" So. It was not good journalism. That story was. I'm going to throw that one out first too.
And I don't. I've been a part of some of that in my fine career, and I don't disagree with you. And as far as me being a journalist, I throw that out 100%. I am not. I'm just a guy who wants to see what's going on, and we'll discuss it. I don't want to be that guy. But a fair shake. The president, this president, my president, our president, should not use those terms. It does the lexicon of life no good. So I don't stand up for him for doing it. Now, that being said, I'm just a believer light will kill the germs. I think it will help us in the long run if all the lights shine on everything that's going on here and we can find out good, bad, and ugly, disinfect it, and start fresh. I think in the long run it'll be good. I think in the short term, this gets really, really bad. And here's what I'm talking about. The governor... back to the paper sent to help him out a little bit. The day the paper talks about Trump and what's going on and the New York Times report, it does say that the governor calls out and says, "I'm looking forward to the investigation." Now, this is the same cat who the paper said the day before they had asked for 10 times from the Department of Human Services a list of the people who had been turned down or the businesses had been turned down, and they've been stonewalled. The SNAP program, the federal government asked, give us your SNAP data because we want to compare it to other states. And they, yesterday in whatever that 2.5-hour, good God, long cabinet meeting, whoever's in charge came out and said they have at least, I don't know how many the number was, people that were signed up for SNAP in 6 separate states. They want to cross-reference it. And right now they're threatening to cut the SNAP benefits here in Minnesota or all the states that aren't giving that up. If the governor's serious, launch the investigations, give that information up. I don't know what we're keeping from the federal government. They pay for the SNAP. They want to know who it goes to. I don't get that. So we're going to have it all open or close it, but you can't have it both ways. Am I lying?
No, I'm a big fan of transparency too, and I think part of the problem here is lack of trust. That would be my guess.
Oh yeah,
but it's like, we give you that data, but what are you going to do with it, man? I think that's.
See, but what's the worst they couldn't do except find somebody who shouldn't have it? I guess and I think it's 440,000 Minnesotans. It's some number like that. Let's say 500,000 Minnesotans get SNAP. Al, your conservative knucklehead friend, want every human that needs $190 to get fed to get it every month. I am not fighting over $190 to get somebody food so they don't starve. But if you're getting it signed up for 6 states, I think we need to talk about it. If you're not eligible for it, you're just Al grabbing an extra $190 from the state because no one caught me doing. I don't want you get it. So what is the worst case? I don't know. Maybe I'm missing, except for people cheating, how we get anything bad out of the voter roll things. We could probably talk about that, but SNAP, they pay for it. They want to know who gets it. I'm missing the argument is all. And what can they do with it? I don't know. To cut somebody off and say, these are the rules. You know what I'm saying? I'm missing something. Can you? I don't
I'm
see
not
it.
against that in principle. I like
Okay.
the idea, especially because the same program's being facilitated in different states. It makes sense that there be coordination of the data. That totally
Yeah.
does. Again, I think I'm not defending it, but my theory would be that it's they're not sure what they're going to do with the data and they don't trust them. But I mean,
I and
the fraud situation, just in general, just really quickly, if you don't mind, like it's
no, no.
I just I'm this is going to sound insensitive, but I just wish we would stop kind of bitching about it and do something. You
Thank
know what I
you.
mean? Like and even if we're just trying, like we tried with the Office of the Inspector General, like we should keep trying things instead of continuing to go, oh my God, this is horrible. Like the people who are saying, oh my God, this is horrible, I want the next sentence to be, maybe we should try this.
Yeah.
Something along those lines. Like that's just me. That's where I'm at.
Well, no, and I'm 100%. And I think if you and I sat and had a cigar and a beer, we could have an action plan on almost all these in about an hour and a half on how we're going to clean each and make sure we're good. And then once we do that, we can go to people. This is clean. This is how we know it's. You and I could figure it out. The problem I get on from my side is when you hear and I don't know what her name is, Department of Human Services people saying, we had two options. The Senate was fine enough to pass a deal. We could cut people off for 60 days if we think there's fraud. We decided to go with the old version. As soon as they're convicted of it, we'll take them off the rolls. Not everybody's rowing this deal from the Gophers. Not everybody's rowing the boat in the same direction, in my opinion, and that's where our problem comes. I want to also talk to you about just the sentiment in Minnesota today. I'm getting concerned. We've went too far. We'll do it after this break. I've got him, Senator Aric Putnam, probably the only normal person I talk to all week long, which really hurts the other guests. I got to say, I shouldn't have said that out loud. We'll be back after this.
Chanhassen Dinner Theaters gift cards make perfect
You know that car sound that sounds like a cricket playing a banjo? Jay's can fix that. You know when you step on the brakes and your car sounds like a pair of tennis shoes in the dryer? Paul is a guy who specializes in that. And you know that sound that never happens when the mechanic's around? Paul took a whole course on that. If you own a car, you need to know Paul. Paul owns Jay's Auto Shop, 202 North Main Street, Blue Earth, 525-1052, 525-1052.
It's nice to know a guy that knows a guy. Al Travis.
He's Senator Aric Putnam, and here's my doomsday. I think we've went to a point, I don't know how we get back from Senator. Last week, a Honduran guy who, according to the government, is here illegally and had some criminal offenses. The ICE guys, Homeland Security, chased him into a place in St. Paul. They called the St. Paul police, said, hey, we're going to need a little backup. They get there, and what's crushing me is that they knew they needed backup, but evidently like 60, I'm going to say 60, 40 cops, and then 60 others showed up, including a couple of representatives from the state of Minnesota, one from St. Paul, one from Duluth, I don't remember the names. Showed up, and then it gets everything you see on TV, the rubber bullets and the tear gas and rocks being thrown at the cops. 12 months ago, I presume most of these people still worked for the federal government, were on the other side, if you will. We trusted them until now we don't. 3 years from now, when there's a new president, and if he's on the other side, do we now trust them again? I cannot for the life of me get to a spot where I'm throwing a rock at a cop. I do not know how you get there, and how you ever pull back from it is maybe my bigger point. We saw the Floyd deal. I get that. Maybe if I can see in it right now, our instinct is cops are at the house next door. I must go and protest them. Maybe they are going after a bad guy. I don't know how we get back from this, sir. I'm seriously, how do you 3 years from now say, well, Orange Man's not here now, I trust him? You know what I'm saying? We're in a bad spot. That can't be the knee-jerk reaction.
Yeah, so I might almost disagree with you on this one.
That's fine. You can't. You're not going to say you want to throw rocks, cops. But
right.
The principle behind it. Okay.
What I'm going to say is that, I make a big distinction between a local cop and an ICE agent. I think there's a huge difference between those two things, and I think that actually our attitude towards law enforcement is being poisoned by the orange one right now. When you post things like these people are garbage and they don't belong in our country, and then someone shows up.
Yeah, and we started the show. He should never have said that. I started that show. I'm with you 100%. Right. But then your point with the St. Paul police, it was a line of St. Paul police officers, those that are there helping those same 60 people keep their homes safe, making sure they're not getting run over by bad people. And they were fighting them. So I guess my thought is, okay, if the local police are there, they must know who this guy is. They don't go to every one of these raids. I don't know, but you can't throw rocks at cops. We can't come back. How do we get back?
Well, here's a weird story. So my grandfather was in the Pacific as a medic. When he got back, he had really bad arthritis, so he wanted to retire. So he was 20 years in the Army, retired, but his arthritis was so bad he found it was better when he walked around. So he became a cop, and he was a cop for 15 years after being 20 years in the Army. And he was the guy who hung out at the elementary school and helped kids learn how to do the crosswalk. I remember as a kid seeing these newspaper articles about my grandfather who lived in Colorado at the time, and how he was the Officer Putnam, the nice guy who just hangs out with third graders and makes sure they get across the street safely. And then one of my uncles became a sheriff's deputy. I have 3 cousins who are cops. So and the St. Cloud police, best people in the world, absolutely best people in the world. And so I think it's part of a larger concern with the apple tree and the apple. Do you know what I mean? Like figuring out good apples, bad apples, those kinds of situations. And but at the core, I do think we need to get back to understanding that law enforcement is there to take care of us and keep us safe.
See, and that's where I'm at. I have 2-3 uncles who were cops for their lifetimes. I've served 6 years in the service. You don't join to be hated by your countrymen. Why you became an ICE agent, why you became a Department of Human Services, I don't know, but I believe it's because you want, and they're bad apples in all those groups. I can tell you some stories about some guys I serve with, idiots. But that being said, it can't be the knee-jerk reaction. I get if you want to protest, something's going on and it's getting to, I get that. But this is going to get back to worse before better. They're talking now that one of the people in that big meeting yesterday said that when they looked into the Somali community in Minnesota, they did 1,000 stops, 900, and 50% of them were here in some way overstaying visas or something. So now, and it's in the paper today, the governor and the mayors believe that they're going to bring people in to check out the Somali community in Minneapolis and St. Paul. Well, they found out 50% weren't here. Are we going to have rock throwing in the rest, or is it okay if somebody's overstayed their visa, we ask them to go fix the problem? This is going to get really bad in the next couple of weeks, and we got to get the temperature down.
No, I totally, and I'm 100% with you on that one. I mean, even if you hate ice, you should at least think about it before you do something. I think that's key for everything is think before you act. And a lot of times our passions get like, especially like whether you're throwing a rock or making a comment on a Facebook post. Take a beat. Take a beat and think about it first. And we're not doing a great job of that right now.
And again, we're going to talk social media in the last minute. That has made it so easy for people to be armchair warriors. The ability to throw crap out there and to see what happens, see what sticks, is horrible for any society. Never should have went there. The picking up a rock and throwing it at authorities, folks, if you're not going to take a breath, then you probably get what you deserve after that. If you get a paintball bullet in the gut, that happens. They've got the weapons. If you don't want tear gas, don't throw a rock at them. Just take a second, make a sign. Sign's good. Hold those up. I don't know. I'm just concerned with where we're going. I'm out of time. I appreciate you a ton. You know I do, right? I mean,
right back at you, man.
We look at this on the other side, but I appreciate you a ton. He's Senator Aric Putnam. We'll get him back in here next week.